Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom. Welcome to the September 2024 Disney Lorcana monthly market recap video, everyone's favorite video of the month. If there is anything you would like to see added in terms of cards or data as we go through the presentation today, please let me know in the comments below. We're kind of making it better and better month over month. This is our third month of doing this. We have videos out for both August and July. If you have interest in those, obviously we're showing you some of the data from those months here in this video, so not too much reason to go back and look at it, but if you are interested, those videos are out there. With that being said, getting into the Elsa Spirit of Winter, the chase card of Lorcana. I kind of think of Elsa as the Charizard, if you will. I just feel like she's the biggest chase in the game, and on the Pokemon side of things, a lot when you talk about like set cards, usually Charizard kind of fits that mold. So with that being said, we're definitely starting to see a little bit of a bounce back as it relates to the Elsa. We saw a 5% uptick in market price up to about 950. One quick side note on the market price for these cards, guys. TCG Player is such a lag in terms of market price. It has such a lag that I'm kind of like putting a rough number on it of like what it would cost to get a near mint copy right now. So when I put market price on there, no, that's what it means. I think the market price on TCG Player for Elsa is like 780, but you can't even get a light played version for I think cheaper than like 945. So it's severely behind. So near mint copies are on 950 to 1,000 right now, which is about a 5% increase from August. Our low sale for the month was actually the lowest we've seen, down at 620. Someone sold 2 copies at 620, and this is a perfect example of someone who maybe they needed to sell and they needed capital, whatever. But at the end of the day, they sold at a horrific time. They literally have the lowest sales of Elsa, and they sold 2 of them for the lowest that it's been in months. Honestly, probably like 6 to 7 months. They sold 2 of them, and the price immediately jumped back up to 1,000. So just something to keep in mind. If this sale is real, I feel like the person was probably overextended. Maybe they had a credit card out there. They had something that forced them to sell. And if it's a personal event or something like that, stuff happens. I get it. Fair play to them. Hope everything's well. If it's some sort of poor financial maneuvering, take this as a lesson. Don't get overextended. Don't get credit card interest, things like that for these collectibles. This is a hobby. Enjoy the art. Enjoy the cards. Buy what you like. Don't get overextended. Don't sell 2 Elsas for $620 a piece, which was an 8% drop in the low sale month over month, for then to then have a 17% spike on the high sale at $999 for the month. So Elsa definitely bouncing back here. We saw a 4% increase in the PSA pop report up to 1,930. We're almost to 2K of our favorite chase card here. By October, maybe we'll be up to 2K, which will be by far the most graded card within Lorcana. So that's pretty cool. It's got a high gem mint rate staying at 70%. Our PSA 10 low sale for the month was 1,200, up about 4% from August. PSA 10 high sale bouncing back a little bit, 21% up to 1,664. A couple notes here, guys, to put the pop report in perspective. 1,930 is a lot for the community right now. That's why you see the overall price of the card not be incredibly valuable when you talk about the PSA 10. Obviously, it's got a 70% gem mint rate, so it's not that rare to get a very high quality of a card. But then also with the 1,664 being, the highest sale of the chase card within this entire game as it relates to set cards. To put the population into perspective, 1,930 is a lot for the community right now, the entire kind of depth of the graded community within Lorcana. But just to put it into perspective, I think for the English alone, Moonbryon in terms of Pokemon, just to give it some sort of correlation there, I think it's over 12,000 at this point just for the English copy. Then you have all the other language variants as well. So to put it into perspective of if you think Lorcana is going to grow and you look through that time frame that I do, or that mindset that I do, 1,930 isn't the end of the world. Now, look, is it ever going to be a $5,000 card, $10,000 card? Probably at some point, maybe it gets close to 5,000. There is a lot of these out there, though, so just keep that in mind. Obviously, if it continues to grow, then this 1,930 number will not look like a lot, considering the amount of demand around the card. And then I have Elsa as a hold, and that's pretty much because we've seen a significant spike, especially on the high side at a 21% gain. I'm never going to fault anyone for going out to get the chase card of Lorcana. I feel like it's definitely in a good spot. We saw it bottom out in July and August. It's starting to bounce back a little bit. The card's seeing a little bit of playability, and overall, I think Lorcana is just growing. I know Lorcana is growing based on the numbers on my channel and the amount of just stuff we're seeing out on whether it's the Disney Lorcana Challenge events on socials, etc., Reddit. The game is definitely growing. There is no doubt about it. With that being said, I think that if you can get like a PSA 10 Gem copy in like the 1400 range, I think that makes sense. I just wouldn't go out and pay 17, 1800, 2000 to start setting, these all-time high prices that we haven't seen for, 6, 7 months. I would be careful on that, and that's why I have it as a hold. In general, going out and getting an Elsa is you could do worse things with your money. So that's kind of where we're at with the Elsa. Just be careful, get a good price. Don't just go out and get the cheapest copy on the market for 1900 if you're getting a PSA 10 copy. So that's kind of why I have it listed as a hold. Moving over to Cinderella, seeing a nice little bounce back here as well. Market price up about 4%, low sale up about 15%, high sale up about 26%. So month over month, this card is doing very, very well. PSA 10 Pop Report has gone up 6%, so a few more percentage points over the Elsa, up to 645. In existence of the PSA 10 Cinderella, gem mint rate remains very low at 45%. Our PSA 10 low sale was 592, PSA 10 high sale 650. No real change there. A little bit high, a little bit change on the low end. But overall, you guys, if you've watched my channel at all, you know I'm a huge proponent of this card. It was the first Cinderella Enchanted. I think the Ballroom Sensation artwork is amazing. The card is very playable. The card it is very hard to grade. In my opinion, I don't have any facts to baseless opinion off of. It's just my understanding of the print cycles and the growth of the game. I believe that set 2, Rise of the Fullborn, is the least printed set in existence thus far. So there's going to be a little bit less of these. Obviously, that matches up on the pop report when you look at the Elsa versus the Cinderella. But if Cinderella was $1,000 card raw, we'd see a lot more getting graded. Once again, this card is very playable. So I think it just has a lot of things going for it. Overall, this card will probably remain a buy for me for some time, especially if you can get it in a gem mint copy. Because if you submitted 10 of these, you're probably going to walk away with roughly 4 PSA 10 copies. And so I think going out and buying this one and you're not even paying too much of a premium. Someone paid $315 for a raw versus $592 for a PSA 10. I think that sale makes a ton of sense. Like at that $592 price, even at the $650 price, I don't hate it. Obviously, do what's right for your collection, but I think overall the Cinderella remains a buy because of the things I mentioned there. Moving on to the Carefree Surfer Stitch, another huge gain here. We went from a market price of $255 in August to $350 in September. Right now, our low sale remained pretty similar, around $240. High sale bounced back up to $300, which is a 13% increase month over month. Looking at the PSA data, we did see a 5.6% increase up to 854 PSA 10 population in existence, 59% gem mint rate, low sale of 550 for a PSA 10 copy, high sale of 649, 16% increase month over month on the low end, about 4% increase on the high end for the PSA 10 copy. This is a card that I would definitely list as a hold because I think it's got a lot of long-term potential. I think it's an amazing artwork. I think Stitch is incredibly collectible. I think he's a favorite among the Lorcana community. Between this card, the D23 card, the Rockstar Stitch card, there's a lot of like Stitch-specific collectors out there, and I think that this card is just it's a 10 out of 10 in my opinion as it relates to the artwork specifically. And this is one that's given me a lot of hope. I talked about it in my market update video yesterday. This card is not incredibly playable. It definitely has a place in a few decks, but you're looking at like 1 or 2 copies overall. It's not some 4 of where you need a play set where a lot of people are hoarding the Enchanteds to put them into their deck. This is kind of mainly a collector's card. I would say it's maybe a 50% split, but it's a card that's definitely being propped up by collectors, and we're seeing some pretty good gains there. Once again, 37% market price month over month. I think we're pretty much almost at 400 if you want to get a near mint copy right now. I put it at 350 because you could technically get, I think, like a moderately played or a light played for around 350 to 375. Once again, this card is pretty much up at 400, and another good reason why you want to be patient with these cards. Someone sold one for 240, and then it gained $100 overnight on them, which obviously they probably wish they had at this point. It is probably the hardest card to grade in the first chapter at a 59%. So once again, I mean, people are paying 300 for it raw. If you can get a PSA 10 copy for the 550 range, I think that makes a ton of sense. Shout out to the person in August who got it for 473. But this is another card that's kind of showing us that this retrace that we've been going through for 4 to 5 months is starting to kind of adjust and get back up into the right a little bit, and we're starting to see a lot of positive numbers for a lot of these cards. So Stitch would definitely, I put it as a hold because it's seen significant increases. Overall, I think if you're in the market for a Stitch, might give it a month to see how it plays out, but at the same time, it might move even more in that month. It's just seen significant price increases, and so if you can get a PSA 10 copy once again around the like 550 mark, I think that's probably fine. Be careful buying it raw after it's seen this huge gain. Like I said, we had people selling near mint copies for 255 in August, and that's pretty much up 35-40%. So just be careful anytime that happens. That's why I have it as a hold. I think the card's a great long-term collector's item. Moving over to one of my favorite cards in all of Lorcana, the Rockstar Stitch. For those of you who are new to Lorcana or not familiar, the Rockstar Stitch is the first trophy card that was ever awarded in Lorcana. Every 3 months, Lorcana has these events called the Set Championships events, where everyone goes to the local LGS, they compete, they do kind of like a Disney Lorcana challenge event format where they have these best of twos. You go through all the different players, and then you get down to the top four who are awarded these trophy cards. This was the very first Set Champs event, the very first trophy card in Lorcana. It was the first Enchanted card that was awarded in Lorcana. Fantastic artwork, fantastic card, and the cherry on top is it is very hard to grade, and it's getting even harder. So we went from a 45% gem mint rate in July and August down to 44%. Obviously not a significant change, just 1% there, or 2% when you're looking month over month. But at the end of the day, it is still a very hard to grade that has a lot of prominence that is moving in its favor. And so I think this card is a great starting point if you're able to go out and get a PSA 10 copy, or you're able to get your hands on a really, really mint raw copy and get it graded. I think this is a great place to start with any collection. Overall, this card was going for 1,200 raw when it first came out, and it was there for a while. I typically kind of write off the initial sales because people are trying to be first to market, and the people who are typically buying those cards aren't really worried about capital because they know that they're more going to hit the market and they're just going to get undercut. But this one was holding it at like 800 plus for I think like a month to two, if I remember correctly. So it was holding very strong. It's obviously seen a huge retrace. We're talking 75%. It's starting to bounce back a little bit. Market price right now is up about 4% month over month. Low sale is up about 7%, but our high sale did drop about 8% roughly, down to 360 was the highest sale we saw for this card for this particular month. PSA 10 Pop Report did go up 11%, so a lot of stitches got graded last month, up to 441. Kind of a little bit less of a jump from July to August, so it did slow down a little bit, but 441 overall in the PSA 10 Pop Report. Low sale for 860, high sale for 920. Low sales up 17%. High sale PSA 10 is down 8%. I think it's a great time to pick up a Stitch. Similar to the Cinderella, I think this is a card that always fits the buy category in my opinion, because I just think there's a lot of prominence there, and I think it's going to be a great long-term collector's item. Moving over to the second Set Championships card, stopping in the Ursula Sea Witch Queen, we saw a 3% decrease in market price, a 9% decrease in low sale price, a 25% decrease in high sale price. We saw a 90% increase in the PSA 10 Pop Report. We saw a 14% decrease in the Great Gem Mint rate. So this is one of two of the hardest cards to grade in all of Lorcana. You have the Disney 100 Maui that has a sub 30% gem mint rate, and then you have the Sea Witch Queen Ursula Set Champs that is a sub 30% gem mint rate. So this is a card that it's got a lot going against it, right? Every indicator that we're looking at, price is down, price is down, price is down. Pop Report is through the roof, up 90% month over month. Low sales down, high sales down. But with this gem mint indicator being down, this card, I have it listed as a hold, but it definitely falls within, it's like a buy slash hold in my opinion, because this card is incredibly hard to grade. And while we only have 78 on the market thus far, we typically do not see a significant swing in the gem mint rate as these cards are getting graded, and as we get this pop report up to, once it gets to 200, 300, 400, whatever it ends up at, we typically don't see a huge supply or a huge gem mint rate increase or decrease. And so whether it goes up to 35% or down to 25%, it's probably going to stay around 30. But essentially what I'm trying to articulate here is that this card is one of the hardest cards to grade in Lorcana. It was the second set championship, so not as much prominence as the Stitch, but at the end of the day, still a fairly rare card. But what gives this card the extra notch even over the Stitch is it is incredibly hard to grade. So the people who are going out there and getting a gem mint copy for 390, even 450, I think getting one copy of this card is going to make a lot of sense. The pop report is going to continue to go up, and so that's why I would urge caution here, and that's why I have it listed as a hold, because this card was just given out 2 months ago. They're finally starting to get to PSA and get back. That's why it's only at 78, and that's why you see all of these other metrics trending down, because we've just seen a huge supply increase for all of September. As we get into October, I expect these numbers to change in the other direction, or at least to start to level out. The market price being at around 97 has remained pretty consistent for most of September, and so it's probably going to start to slowly go up over October would be my guess there. But overall, this card is one that I'm a little bit cautious because it is still somewhat new, so I have it as a hold. But in terms of gem mint quality, this card is a very, very, very hard grade. One of the hardest cards to grade in all of Lorcana. So just keep your eyes on that as we continue to progress. Ursula Deceiver of All. This is one, guys, that I'm probably going to take out next month. It's just so playable, and I don't know how much of it is truly being propped up. I don't know how relevant it is to collectors, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think this card, it's extremely playable. It's in a ton of Emerald Steel decks. And Emerald Steel is very much in the meta, and so this card has always been kind of a meta card. It has still continued to see decreases, and that's why I could argue it to buy, but I just don't think you need to go out and pick up this card today. We've seen a 7% decrease in market price, 2% increase in low sale, 15% increase in high sale up at 266 for the month. Our PSA pop report went up 5%, up to 319 gem mint copies in existence. The gem mint rate, this card is hard to grade, 48% month over month, down 4%. And the low sale is 245 for a PSA 10 copy, high sale of 379. If you can get a gem mint copy for a couple $100, I wouldn't fault you for that. I mean, someone got a gem mint copy for less than someone paid for a raw copy. Now that's because the card's very playable, and so the players are willing to pay a little bit more than the collectors, and so that's why this card is kind of like a buy/hold. If you can get a gem mint copy for a couple $100, more power to you. At the end of the day, I think that it's one that there's a ton of collectors that are after it, and so it's kind of a hold in my opinion from a collector's point of view. It could even be a sell card, to be honest. If you have a raw copy that's up at 255 or 300, if we get back to those kind of all-time highs we saw this card at, I think a raw sale there might make sense as well. Next up, D23 2024 Mickey Mouse. I don't know why that name is so high, or it's off center, it looks like. I don't know. Slide looks weird. I apologize. We saw a 20% decrease month over month. Obviously, this card was freshly released, and so anytime you start to get more on the market, you're going to see these numbers plummet. No real concerns here, but just general caveat there. 20% month over month market price decrease. We saw a 14% increase on the low sale, up to 197 for the low sale for the month for September. We have a high sale of 233. 31% decrease. Obviously, people were willing to pay a premium as this card first hit the market. Look at this PSA 10 pop report. 461% increase month over month, up to 376 total PSA 10 cards in existence. The gem mint rate did drop a ton. So we saw a 30% decrease month over month, down to 53% overall. We have a PSA 10 low sale of 455. We saw a PSA 10 high sale of 625, a 48% decrease month over month. And this is why, this is always a good reminder. I'm constantly saying it in my daily videos, but never, unless you have unlimited money and you literally are willing to light it on fire, never try and be first to market with these cards, guys. From a buyer's perspective, someone paid $1,225 for this card. If they would have waited a couple weeks, they would have been able to buy two of them for that that price, if not more, maybe a week from now. So with that being said, I have it listed as a hold. It's definitely a long-term card that I want to get my hands on. I think it makes a ton of sense. It's obviously Mickey Mouse, very, very highly collectible IP. It's the first card ever with the gold nameplate, as far as I know. It's got the enchanted foil. It's a D23 promo. It's got all the things going for it. I love the card. I just am not ready to pull the trigger yet. I think there's quite a few people. I've seen a lot of people with like 10 plus of these cards, and I feel like if the price stagnates for a little bit, we're probably going to start to see some hit the market. And so I'm personally holding out on it. It's got a lot of things going for it. If you want to buy it, I'm not going to fault you for it. But as these numbers continue to shake out, I always will just be a little bit late to the party on these cards, because I just feel like there's better times ahead from a buyer's perspective. So that's my thoughts on that one. Moving over to the first chapter sealed case. So a sealed case has 4 booster boxes of the first chapter inside of it. We saw a 4% increase month over month in the market price. Right now, you're looking to pay about $900 if you want to get a sealed case of the first chapter. Our low sale for the month was $858, which was a 9% increase month over month. High sale remains right at about where it was last month, $925, all in for a sealed case on the high side. The first chapter, both the case and the individual booster box, which we're going to take a look at next, is in kind of a weird spot. We've seen Ravensburger unload a ton of them on the market through Amazon, and at the end of the day, we kind of need to see when does that end, because that's what's going to drive this product moving forward. If let's say Ravensburger right now is out of this product and there's going to be no more hitting Amazon at MSRP, then this card would be a mega buy. This card goes, the market eats these boxes up day after day after day. It's an insane product. It's very, very good long term. I know a lot of people hate the investment side of things. I think this is a great place. If you're with on risk assets and you have a high risk tolerance from an investment point of view, I think this is something in terms of a gamble that definitely checks a lot of the boxes you're looking for. But we just need to know, or really we can't know, but we need to find out when is Ravensburger going to be out of stock, because that's going to make this product skyrocket, in my opinion. The demand has been there since day one for this product. It continues today. It's only a matter of when that supply drops, the demand is going to remain the same, and then that price is going to uptick. It's going to start to be a little bit more scarce, and it's going to just kind of continue to climb up that graph up and to the right. And so I have it as a hold because we just have, every time this case gets to 1,000 or anywhere between 900 to 1,000, we see a supply increase, it drops it back down. So I don't think you necessarily need to go out and run out and get it. I think you're fine if you do, right? But I don't think you need to run out and get it today, because we just don't know when the supply is going to stop. Same thing for the individual booster box. We saw a 7% increase in the market price. $225 is about the price right now if you want to go out and get one. There's a ton available at that price. Low sale was $210 for the month, 2% increase. High sale right in line with last month at $244. All the sentiments that I said about the case remain the same here for the individual booster box. Moving over to the Rise of the Floodborn sealed case. So the second set of Lorcana, a case of 4 booster boxes sealed from the factory. We have a market price of $600, which remains the same month over month. We have a low sale of $539 for the month, which is about a 20% increase. And then we have a high sale of $590, which is right in line, 1% decrease, right in line with where it was for August. This is a product that I do have listed as a buy, because this is one that never got an official reprint, and it has slowly started to dry up. So there's not a ton available at the moment. This box, even just a couple of months ago, when you look back to like March and April, when it was more in cycle, you could get them readily for like 100 to 110. It's slowly creeped up. We're above MSRP now. You're looking, I think, 150. Yep, to go out and get an individual box. So that puts the case price at around 600. Those two match up perfectly. I think overall this box, once again, is a buy on both the case and the individual box side, because we have not seen this product reprinted. We have not heard of a reprint. And so these are kind of uncharted territories, right? We got the first reprint for the first chapter, or we got the reprint for the first chapter, and now we have the next set that's kind of like dried up, and we're getting above this point. I personally don't think that they're going to reprint the box, and that's why I have it listed as a buy, but it is uncharted territory. We don't know what Lorcana print cycles look like. We know Pokemon print sets sometimes 4 years after they're initially released. And so with Lorcana, we don't know what Ravensburger is going to do there in terms of print cycles, but at the end of the day, I do not expect, based on historical trends and what they've done in the past and some of the statements they made, I don't think it's going to be reprinted, but I don't know that for a fact. Obviously, if it does get reprinted, I would have this listed as a sell probably, because we're going to see much cheaper times ahead. I'm just of the mindset that it's not going to be reprinted, or of the opinion that it's not going to be reprinted, and so that's why I have it ultimately as a buy at both the individual box and the case. We haven't seen much movement month over month apart from the low sale on the case side. Individual box remains pretty much as is. And then last but not least, guys, the D23 2024 collector's box, really the gem of September, if you will. This product has been flying off the shelves. Market price is up 45% month over month, up to $335 right now as it relates to TCG Player. Low sale at $205, up 20% month over month. High sale at $330, up 49% month over month. And so I have this card listed as kind of like a buy slash hold. I think the product is an amazing product. I've talked about it in a lot of my videos. They did a fantastic job. A lot of the cards are playable. All of the cards are collectible. They are very unique. They have awesome arts. I mean, this product is a 10 out of 10. The Brave Little Tailor in this box is slowly becoming one of my favorite cards from a pure art perspective. It's the first Brave Little Tailor, which in my opinion is kind of like the Pikachu of Lorcana. It's the first Brave Little Tailor that has the enchanted foil. I wish it was a first chapter enchanted, but I digress. The card and really all of the cards look amazing. It was packaged very well, and I'm just a huge fan of the product all in. And so, in that sense, I think it's a win. I think you can go out and get it. At the same sense, we've seen huge increases month over month. And so I never recommend like buying high, but at the end of the day, this is a very specific item, and we haven't seen items like these be reprinted. Now, we don't have the most data. The D23 2022 box was never reprinted, but that is like, it was a set number. It was 900 of them in existence. They kind of said that, and it was the first edition stamp, all of the different provenance there. So that's, I don't think this box is going to be reprinted. I think it was specifically for 2024 at the D23 events around the world. I think there was 5 sites in total selling them. Your guess is as good as mine. I have it listed as a buy because I think the product's going to do very well long term. This is one that I do not have a sealed version of, which is unfortunate. All of the ones that I got, I opened. Have a lot of cards at grading right now. I actually only ever bought one. I bought a lot of the extra Brave Little Tailors because I like that card a lot long term. But I only bought one of these boxes. I opened it and I just loved it. I was just a little too late to the party to go out and get more. I got my first one for like $170, and then by the time I got it, opened it, realized what an awesome product it was. I think the price was at like $290, and it got up like $100 and something since I bought my first one. So I just decided to kind of hold off on that. But overall, cards in it are amazing. The cards are performing very good overall. I think Ursula's up to like $80 or $90. The Brave Little Tailor is close to $100, I think. Oswald is up around $80. The Stout Heart is doing good. Really, all of the cards except for Bruno and Vanellope, those two are kind of the redheaded stepchilds of the box, if you will. I think they're around like 30 or 40. The rest of the cards are kind of 80 plus, getting up over 100, which is driving a lot of the value here. There's also a lot of grading plays to be made, like the Brave Little Tailor is selling pretty consistently at a PSA 10, which this is a card that I will include moving forward, but it's selling at a PSA 10 for around 200 right now, which is a pretty strong price, and I think that price will continue to go up. I just think there's going to be a lot of demand for this box overall. So that is it for the monthly recap, guys. A couple things that, in terms of like, because I don't like that. I don't like having any sales in this video, like what I would sell. I mentioned the Ursula there a little bit, Deceiver Evolved, that enchanted. I think there are some cards that make sense to sell from a collector's point of view. Things that are very playable right now. So like if you pull a Diablo, I think that is an enchanted Diablo. That is, I think that's absolutely a sell from, is that Ursula's Return or Into the Inklings? I can't remember. Ursula's Return. Another one that would be a sell is like the Champion of Sherwood from Into the Inklings. I think that card, it's got a high price because it's incredibly playable. anytime we pull these very playable cards, when you talk about like Shimmering Skies, if you think about the Prince Naveen, I think that's a sell. I don't think there's a lot of collector value there, apart from it just being a very rare card, Brian. I wouldn't fault you for collecting it, but I think that is a very playable card that makes sense to sell, as well as the Clarabelle, in my opinion, I think makes sense to sell. The Mufasa is one of those ones where it's the double-edged sword because it's very collectible, but in my opinion, it's one of the best set cards that has been released. Obviously, we have the James Earl Jones situation that just happened. Rest in peace to him. And so it's got the art, the collectability, Mufasa, this iconic IP, and then it's very playable, right? So people need some for their decks. That person would be a hold for me because I think that card is just amazing and it's going to do very well long term. But at the end of the day, I think that if you have these other playable enchanteds that are in cycle, that there's not a lot of collector value for them, like Prince Naveen is a prime example. That card is like 150, 160 for a raw enchanted. You're not going to get a significant premium in the PSA 10 version, and so I think it just makes sense to sell raw. So those are kind of the cards that I'm selling right now. Apart from that, obviously I'm very bullish on the long-term outlook of Lorcana. My time horizon is very long, so a lot of the cards in my collection I tend to have for a very long time. But at the end of the day, you do need to sell some cards. This mindset of like, you're not a collector if you sell any cards, or Lorcana's go to the moon, so I don't want to sell anything now because it's all going to be worth more money in the future. At the end of the day, rolling capital and selling some cards to buy more cards for your collection, setting defined goals. Selling is a part of this. It doesn't mean you're not a collector. It doesn't mean you don't love Lorcana. Don't be afraid to sell some cards, guys. It's healthy to do so. Once you get over that bridge of selling a couple, you kind of come to grips with it. You're buying more. You're just more involved in kind of the day-to-day side of things. But don't feel bad if you need to sell a couple cards. Like I know some people were surprised that I was selling some Rise of the Floodborn cold foils from that set, like the Madame M box, or the Merlin Rabbit, Strength of a Raging Fire. There were a couple that were just like so insanely priced. I had extra cold foil versions of, and if I can sell 3 or 4 cold foils from a binder that I have extra copies of and make $150, like to me that's a no-brainer. So those are things like that I'm fine with selling. Obviously, from a collector's point of view, I don't think that cold foils are really going to have that much collectability long term. That would take. I mean, if a Madame Mim cold foil fox has collectability, obviously it's very playable. The players want it. They want a playset of the cold foil version. That all makes sense. If a cold foil Madame Mim becomes collectible, I would be very, very surprised. And at that point, everything else is going to be worth $1 million too. So whatever. But just be okay with selling cards, guys. That doesn't mean you don't love Lorcana. I know it's tough to do. It took me a long time to come to grips with it, but I think it's the right thing to do if you have some clear, defined goals to be able to achieve those. I think that makes a ton of sense. So, with that being said, guys, that is going to be the end of the September 2024 Disney Lorcana monthly market recap. Once again, if you have anything that you want added to the video, please let me know in the comments below. And then other than that, guys, we are out of here. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon.